Okay, hello. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a car using the physics in GameMaker. This is going to be continuing on from the previous tutorial where I showed you how to create a rope bridge also using the physics, and it's pretty much just a car to be able to drive over that bridge, although pretty much drive over anything you want it to. Okay, we're going to start off by making the sprite, so we'll go ahead and create a new sprite. Got SPR wheel, and if you didn't already notice, this sprite is for the wheel. When making the car, we're going to be making it out of two separate objects. One's going to be the wheel and one's going to be the actual car body. So we'll start off making the wheel and then we'll move on to the car body afterwards. Okay, so making new sprite, 64 by 64 is what I use, but it doesn't matter too much. And then pretty much just draw a circle. Color it whatever you want. I'm just going to color mine green, and then tick that off. You're probably going to want to center it just to make things easier when positioning it. So, yep, okay, tick that off. Alright, now we want to create the object. So just call it obj wheel, and then tick the user's physics box and parent it to the dynamic parent. Make sure there's hang on, give it the sprite, then make sure it's the right shape. And that's all good to go. Okay, so that's pretty much our wheel finished. We'll be coming back and editing that a bit later. Okay, now we're going to make a car body. Now what I'm going to do is just create a rectangle, and it's actually going to be thinner than the wheels. That way if the car flips over, I'll still be able to drive it. Okay, so make sure it's thinner than wheels. The wheels are 64 by 64, so let's just make this 50. And that's for width, so we want the height to be 50, and then the width can be something more like 100. Okay. In fact, we'll go a bit bigger than 100. I'm going to go 150. Actually, 130. Okay. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle for that. Okay, I'm going to center it and tick that off. Now we're going to make the object for it. So just call it obj car, and then give it the sprite. And actually forgot to name that sprite, so I'll go back and do that. It's just SPR car body, and that's it. Okay, now first thing we're going to do is open up the car again, create an event. Yep, just use the create event, and then you want to put in a code block. I'll just resize this. Okay, there we go. So to create and position the wheels, all we're going to do is use the car. It's going to create a wheel, then it's going to use a revolute joint to connect it to itself, and then it's going to do the wheel afterwards, like the second wheel. Alright, so just go I equals instance create, then x minus 65 and y plus I think it was 50. I'll just double check that. So go in here, and it was only 25. There's the values, and going off here, because that point's centered, that's halfway and that's halfway, so we're going to go y plus 25 and x minus 65. So that should only be 25, and that'll put the wheel on the far left, bottom left side of the car body. In fact, actually, just make that Y. Okay, because as I said before, the car is going to be able to keep going even if it flips over, and to do that, we're going to want the wheel to be centered in the actual car body. Okay, then we'll set the object to be created to object wheel, and that's done. I is then going to hold this object's ID, and we're going to use that to create our joint. Okay, so then just go physics, joint, and then you want to go down to revolute. So physics, joint, revolute, create. Okay. Instance 1 is the car object, so just write ID. Then instance 2 is I for the other object. World anchor X would be I.X, so I just want to go I.X, and then world anchor Y is I.Y. The lower angle limit is 0. I'll just bring that up a bit bigger. I'm going off these values down here across the bottom there. That shows you where all the variables that you need to fill in for the functions are. Okay, so yep, lower angle limit 0, upper angle limit 0, enable limit 0, max motor torque 0, motor speed 0, enable motor 0, and collide instances is 0. So we just want a basic joint, and it's just going to connect it. Okay, so then you can just copy and paste those two lines, except change this to plus 65 instead of minus 65, and that's the car put together pretty much. Okay, so to test that out, we're going to just put the car into the room, but before we do that, we need to, in the car properties, we've got to tick users physics, set the right collision shape, and that's already fine, and parent it with object dynamic parent. Okay, and then if you followed the other tutorial, you can get rid of the other objects. If not, go back to that to find out how we made the rope bridge and everything else. And yep, once you've done that, you can just run it. So put the car in the room and run the game. Okay, there we go, that's the car. See, we've got the block connected to the two wheels, rolls along the rope bridge as it should. Okay, that's fine. Now, for the car, the way the physics engine works is it limits the amount and like body can rotate in each step, and it does this using the room speed, and then it calculates it from that. Now with the room speed at 30, if we try and accelerate too fast, the wheels will end up locking up and it'll look like they're kind of sticking to the ground, and the whole game is just pretty much going to glitch out. So I would set it to something like 120, and that'll make it run a lot smoother, and you shouldn't get any wheels sticking to the ground. Okay, so just set that to 120 and tick the box. Alright, now so we can control the wheel, we're going to open up object wheel, and we're going to go into the create event and add a code block, just like that. Alright, right equals VK right, and left equals VK left. Right, that's gonna store our controls into variables and just make it easier to edit later on. Alright, next we want to set speed, so I'm going to set mine to 3000. That should be able to accelerate it at a decent speed, and you're right to tick that off. Okay, the wheel friction we need to set higher, because if it's that low then your wheels are just going to slide out and it's going to be really hard to start actually get moving. Alright, so we're going to set that nice and high. Set it at 50. Then you want to get the step event and add in another code block, and this is when we're going to add in our actual movement. So we go if keyboard check right, then physics apply torque, which is basically rotation, and just speed for that value. Positive value will spin it right, negative value will spin it left. So then we can just copy and paste that, change right to left, and change SPD to minus SPD. And that's it. That is a controllable wheel. Okay, so we can just tick OK on that. Open up our room. If it's not already there, put the car in the room and run the game. Okay, now use your right and left arrow keys to control the car. And there we go. As you can see, you can move it right and left, and it's all good. The little blue ball down the bottom is a player object that was made in a previous tutorial. I just didn't take that out of the room. But yeah, main focus there is on the car. Okay, that's how to make a car using the physics engine in Game Maker. You can also make things like motorbikes and all that, like doing the same thing but just using different joints. If you want other tutorials, subscribe and like the video. If you have any suggestions for other tutorials that you want made, like if there's anything you don't know, just say something in the comments and I'll see what I can do about it. Alright, thanks for watching.